Lucia Vega froze mid-polish, her rag hovering above the mahogany table like a pause button nobody else could see. At the head of the sleek conference room, Billionaire tech CEO Victor Reeves held up a document in Mandarin, the characters flowing like secrets across the page. "Whoever can translate this acquisition proposal gets my salary for the day." $27,400, Reeves announced, nudging Lucia's cleaning cart aside with the casual cruelty of his Italian leather shoe. After erupted, executives smirked, their cufflinks glittering as they traded knowing glances. To them, the challenge was a joke, a spectacle. Lucia bent her head lower, her cloth moving in slow circular motions. "Don't breathe, don't look up, don't let them see." "Maybe we should just use Google Translate," cracked Derek Willis, the smug VP of operations, tapping his Harvard class ring against a glass of sparkling water. The table roared again. Lucia's phone buzzed in her pocket. The eviction reminder. 72 hours until the court hearing. 72 hours until she and her family were on the street. Her hand slipped into her pocket, fingers brushing against the jade translator's pen. Her father's last gift. A relic of love. A weapon of truth. A skill she'd buried under years of silence. The urge to speak burned in her throat. But so did the memory of laughter like this. Laughter at the maid, not the mind. Would stepping forward be salvation, or public execution in designer suits? Lucia stepped back, melting into the shadows, invisible once more. But she hadn't always been invisible. 15 years earlier, she was the wide-eyed 8-year-old who dazzled her teachers, switching effortlessly between 3 languages. Her Chinese mother, Min, had met her Dominican father, Raphael, in Boston during an international exchange. Their love had survived cultures, continents, and criticism, bound by their obsession with words. Words build bridges between worlds. Raphael would whisper as he guided Lucia's hand, teaching her to draw Chinese characters that seemed to dance across the page. By 10. She was the living bridge, the little girl who could weave conversations between her Chinese grandparents and Dominican relatives. The pride in their eyes had been her first taste of power. And now, as Victor Reeves's voice echoed in her ears, that same power was begging to be unleashed. The jade translator's pen had arrived on her 13th birthday. Cool and heavy in her palm, etched with the characters for knowledge illuminates. When she held it close, she swore she could still smell her father's study. Sandalwood, ink and the quiet rhythm of pages turning under his guidance. This pen belonged to a great scholar, Rafael Vega had said, his voice brimming with pride. Now it belongs to another. 3 months later, that same voice was hollowed out by humiliation. After 15 loyal years building Reeves Enterprises, Asian market partnerships, Raphael was strategically restructured out of existence. His severance barely covered 2 months of rent. His health insurance vanished overnight, and the cough that had been dismissed as stress became a death sentence. Stage 4 lung cancer. The bills arrived faster than job rejection letters. Lucia would never forget the night he staggered home from an interview, shoulders bowed, his face the color of ash. "They won't hire me," he whispered to Min. "Reeves blackballed me, says I carry proprietary knowledge." 6 months later, Rafael Vega was gone, leaving behind $43,756 in medical debt. A broken family, and a jade pen that now lived in Lucia's pocket, heavy as guilt and luminous as hope. Min carried her grief by working 3 housekeeping jobs, her engineering degree from Beijing University gathering dust like an artifact. No one cared to unearth. Lucia carried hers by watching her scholarship dreams collapse the night her mother's first stroke struck. At 17, she traded textbooks for time cards, dropping out of her senior year to become both breadwinner and nurse. By 23, Lucia's life had hardened into a punishing loop. From 4 p.m. to midnight, she scrubbed the very floors of Reeves Enterprises. From midnight to dawn, she cared for her half-paralyzed mother. At dawn, 3 hours of sleep. By 8 a.m., she became someone else entirely. Linguistic Ridge, a ghostly pseudonym translating academic papers online at $22 an hour. Better than the $14.25 she earned cleaning, but still precarious, inconsistent. If her real identity surfaced, she could lose the fragile healthcare her mother clung to like oxygen. Every month was the same ruthless arithmetic. $200 for rent on their one-bedroom box. $463 for men's medications. $275 toward her father's medical debt. $194 groceries. $145 for utilities. Survival added up, but dreams never made the ledger. For 5 years, she had haunted Reeves' enterprises like a specter, the unseen custodian, while billion-dollar deals unfolded over catered lunches. She trained herself to vanish, to become part of the furniture. Yet her ears never stopped working. Mandarin, Spanish, English, words that executives tossed carelessly became currency in her mind. She knew Victor Reeves had gutted employee retirement contributions, even as he purchased $14.2 million Australian dollars Aspen estate. She knew Derek Willis, the ring-tapping VP, stolen credit for the Singapore expansion strategy his junior analyst, Priya Sharma, had actually built from scratch. Lucia might have been invisible, but she wasn't blind, and she wasn't deaf. The ghost was listening. Lucia knew the numbers Reeves's glossy annual reports never revealed. Maintenance staff, 87% people of color. Executive leadership, 94% white. Diversity was a press release. Inequality was the business model. Knowledge without power, intelligence without opportunity. She polished their coffee rings while listening to billion-dollar conversations about Asian markets, Hispanic consumers, and untapped multilingual demographics. They dissected entire cultures over lattes, never once noticing the woman who understood every word. The irony was sharp enough to cut. But irony didn't cover rent. Irony didn't stop eviction notices. And irony didn't care that the 72-hour countdown had already begun. Her mother's disability appeal denied. Again, the eviction final. Monday morning, they DB processed into the invisible machine of displacement. The very same fate suffered by those who built the city, scrubbed its offices, kept its lights on, but were never invited to belong. The document arrived on Victor Reeves's desk at 10:17 a.m. sharp that Friday. Lucia noticed because she was polishing the glass trophy case across from his office. She always noticed. The Shanghai postmark, the embossed logo of Hangtech Innovations, one of China's semiconductor giants, the flicker on Reeves's face, a tiny crack in his permanent composure. Panic. By noon, the executive floor was chaos. Notifications pinged across screens like artillery fire. Assistants ran with folders. Phones rang unanswered. Then came the announcement. Disaster. Lin, the head translator, was in Beijing. His 2 associates were tied up at an industry conference in Tokyo. The translation team was gone. Lucia moved like a shadow, emptying wastebaskets with methodical grace. She should have clocked out. Fridays, she was free by noon. But something, fate, defiance, or just curiosity, anchored her to the room. Wiping fingerprints from glass that was already spotless. Then Reeves erupted from his office, waving the Shanghai document like a flare. Everyone in the conference room. Now, executives scrambled. Chairs screeched. Lucia kept wiping. Reeves slammed the document onto the polished table, the paper snapping like a gunshot. Huang is offering us exclusive manufacturing rights for our new processor. This deal could double our market share in Asia. That's fantastic news, ventured Derek Willis, though his tone betrayed confusion. It would be, Reeves barked, if we could read the damn thing. They sent it in Mandarin. Our translators are unavailable. Huang gave us 72 hours to respond before the offer goes to Samsung. Lucia's pulse spiked. On the cover page, she recognized characters instantly. Technical terms her father had once drilled into her. Specifications of semiconductor tolerances. Can't we use a service? Asked Priya Sharma cautiously. For something this confidential, Reeves scoffed. Do you want our competitive advantage leaked to every tech firm in Silicon Valley? Silence fell. The executives shifted. Restless. Multi-million-dollar opportunity balanced on a language barrier. Then Reeves's voice sharpened, deliberately louder, dripping with showmanship, as his gaze slid just briefly to the janitor who wasn't he supposed to hear. I'll make it worth someone's while. Translate this proposal. 30 pages, accurately, in 48 hours. Do that, and I'll pay you my daily salary. Reeves let the number hang in the air like bait. That's $27,000. $400. The room froze. Then Derek Willis snorted, laughter bubbling until the others joined. "Well," Reeves added, with a smirk toward Lucia, "maybe even the cleaning lady can give it a shot. Though I doubt Mandarin is part of housekeeping school." This time the laughter was sharper, cutting. Lucia's eyes stayed on the polished wood, but her knuckles whitened around the cloth. "We'll divide it," Willis proposed smoothly. "Run it through software first, then refine." Reeves snapped. "But remember, 72 hours until Huang walks. These documents do not leave this building. Security protocols in full effect." Executives scattered, scooping up copies. Lucia noticed two things. They were already butchering the translation. Mistaking an exclusive manufacturing contract for a vague partnership. The 72-hour deadline matched hers exactly. Reeves's daily salary could save their home, could keep her mother alive. But if she stepped forward, she could lose her job. Or worse, prove herself indispensable and paint a target on her back. And what if the contract itself carried the same poison that had destroyed her father's life? At 1:43 a.m., in the dim light of her cramped kitchenette, Lucia made her choice. Her mother lay restless in the living room, medical monitors casting ghost blue shadows across her fragile frame. The eviction notice glared from the table, the number 72 circled in red. She would act, but not openly. Not yet. Saturday night, she slipped back into Reeves Enterprises. Her uniform made her invisible, her accent in armor. "Weekend overtime," she told the guard. "Needs medicine." He waved her through without a second glance. The executive conference room was deserted, littered with their failed attempts. The whiteboard was a battlefield of mangled characters and garbled jargon. Lucia winced. Then, using her jade pen, she corrected 3 crucial sections with precision her father would have been proud of. At the bottom, she left only 2 words: Night Owl. By Sunday morning, Night Owl was legend. Executives buzzed, perplexed. "Who the hell is Night Owl?" Reeves barked. "Security says no unauthorized entry," Willis replied, studying the whiteboard with calculating eyes. Then, smoothly, he erased her signature. "Actually, I did this part. Been studying Mandarin privately. Didn't want to brag until now, but emergency calls." Reeves clapped him on the shoulder. "Finally, some initiative. Willis, your lead. Coordinate the team." Lucia's small victory turned to ash in her mouth, her talent stolen, her voice silenced again. Yet she didn't have the luxury of anger, not with eviction ticking down. That night, spreading photocopied pages across the kitchen table, she discovered the real trap: workforce optimization clauses. Legalese that meant Reeves could lay off 300 workers at the plant, including her mother's cousin's family, who had just found their footing. Help Reeves and she'd destroy others like her. Refuse and her mother lost everything. Then came the text. New security cameras in the executive wing. After-hours access restricted. The window was closing. Lucia adapted. During Monday's shift, she hid in bathroom stalls with scraps of paper, translating furiously. She skipped lunch, barricaded in the supply closet. Her hands cramped, her eyes burned. But she pressed on. By evening, 40% complete. More anonymous notes appeared under Night Owl's hand, and Willis absorbed them like oxygen. The countdown sharpened. 56 hours until eviction. 47 until Huang's deadline. Her mother's blood pressure spiked. "Necesitamos un milagro," she whispered, clutching Lucia's hand. "We need a miracle." Lucia had the miracle in her grasp, but unleashing it could destroy her. Tuesday morning shattered the fragile balance. "We have a security breach," the chief announced in the executive meeting. Footage played. A shadowy figure in the conference room. No face. No name. Suspicion flooded the air. "Investigate everyone," Reeves ordered, especially maintenance staff. Lucia kept her mask in place, pouring coffee as though her heart wasn't battering her ribs. Interviews began. When her turn came, she leaned into the stereotype they expected. Broken English, wide-eyed confusion. "No understand problem," she murmured. "I clean only. No touch papers." The chief seemed satisfied, but Willis lingered, ring tapping against the desk, eyes gleaming. "Funny," he drawled once they were alone. "You understand English perfectly when I give cleaning instructions." Lucia looked down. Instructions simple, questions complicated. Willis leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. I think you understand more than you let on. Much more. That evening, her worst fear materialized. Her locker searched. Her jade pen, gone. Looking for this? Willis twirled it lazily between his fingers when he cornered her in the break room. Beautiful piece. Characters mean knowledge, don't they? She reached instinctively. He pulled back, smirking. Security's concerned about unauthorized items. Could be espionage. A voice dripped mock sympathy. I filed a report. By morning, HR had issued her a formal warning. Suspicious behavior. K. Unauthorized possessions. One more strike, and she was out. The eviction clock showed 34 hours remaining. Her mother collapsed with chest pains, the ambulance bill draining their last savings. The landlord posted the final notice. 48 hours until locks were changed. Desperation drove her into dangerous territory. During her lunch break, she slipped into Willis's office. A gamble, a sin, a necessity. On his computer, the truth detonated. Deliberate mistranslations. Willis wasn't just incompetent, he was sabotaging the deal. His edits twisted clauses into legal landmines. The agreement could trigger investigations, massive fines, a corporate time bomb. When she returned to her cart, Willis was waiting, his smile thin, predatory. I know it's you, Willis said without preamble, his voice low, oily, like he'd been waiting for this moment. The mysterious translator. I checked the personnel files. Your mother, Min Vega, formerly Minlu from Shanghai, and your father, Rafael Vega, worked here until we, how shall I put it, right-sized him. Lucia's jaw tightened. Her mask slipped. My father was an invaluable asset to this company. Willis smirked, tilting his head. So she speaks. I wondered how long the Mute Maid Act would last. Give me back my pen. After I speak with immigration about your mother's visa status, Willis countered smoothly. Expired, isn't it? Since your father's death? Would be such a shame if authorities were notified. The threat coiled in the air like smoke. I'd speak and risk deportation. Stay silent and watch the company and hundreds of jobs burn. 30 hours until eviction. 24 hours until the Huang Tech deadline. Lucia had never felt more trapped, more determined. The emergency board meeting began at 9:00 a.m. Thursday, precisely 24 hours before the deadline. Lucia moved silently around the conference room perimeter, pouring coffee and arranging pastries like camouflage while Willis strutted at the head of the table. As you can see, Willis declared, laser pointer flashing across his PowerPoint, the terms are highly favorable. Huang Tech is offering exclusive manufacturing at rates 15% below market with minimal quality control oversight. Lucia winced. Liar. The document said, the opposite stringent protocols, not shortcuts. Her father had taught her every one of those technical characters. Willis wasn't just mistranslating, he was sabotaging. Their only unusual request, Willis continued, is accelerated production scheduling, using what translates roughly as modified staff allocations. Lucia's blood ran cold. It wasn't modified staff allocations. It was mass layoffs. 300 families wiped out with the stroke of a pen. Her hands trembled as she refilled the water pitcher. Then Willis butchered the pronunciation of Ludon Moxing. Something inside her snapped. Ludon Moxing, Lucia corrected softly. The tones crisp, undeniable. It means fluid modeling system, not whatever you said. The room froze. Willis's face darkened. Excuse me? Lucia straightened, shoulders squaring as if her father himself stood behind her. You've mistranslated several critical sections. Ludomoxing refers to semiconductor thermal management, not staffing. The contract demands higher tolerance standards, not lower. If you sign ASs, you'll breach 3 labor agreements and lose the deal. How dare you interrupt, Willis began, but Reeves cut him off, eyes narrowing. You speak Mandarin? Lucia met his gaze without flinching. Mandarin, Spanish, and English. I also read Japanese and Korean. Her heart pounded. My father, Rafael Vega, built your Asian market division. He taught me technical Mandarin before I could ride a bike. Recognition flickered across Reeves's face. Vega, he murmured. She's lying, Willis snapped. She's just a cleaner, probably feeding intel to competitors. Lucia pulled out her phone and thrust it forward. Check my credentials. Translationbridge.com. Username linguistic_bridge. 400 academic and technical translations. Rating 4.98. Verified clients across engineering, business, and academia. Reeves scrolled silently. The board members leaned forward. Willis paled. Your translation, Lucia said, turning to the directors, mentions nothing about the 300 layoffs Huang Tech requires. Page 16. Paragraph 4. The characters clearly state workforce reductions of no fewer than 300 positions within 60 days. Would you like me to read it verbatim? The board murmured, tension thickening. Reeves's gaze sharpened, predatory calculation replacing surprise. You claim you can translate the entire document accurately? I already have. About 60%, Lucia admitted. The anonymous notes Willis has been taking credit for, they're mine. Gasps. Head swiveled toward Willis. You were the night owl, Reeves asked. Lucia nodded once. Reeves smiled not warmly, but like a wolf spotting prey. My offer stands. I want it in writing, Lucia countered, and my pen back. Your pen? Reeves frowned. My jade translator's pen. Willis confiscated it yesterday as suspicious material. All eyes turned. Willis reluctantly produced the pen, his hand tight, jaw tighter. And I want a contract guaranteeing my employment, Lucia added, surprising even herself with her boldness. With a confidentiality clause protecting my mother's immigration status. Silence. Even the air conditioner seemed to pause. Reeves studied her, interest gleaming, perhaps even respect. Drop the agreement, he ordered. As the jade pen slid back into her hand, cool and grounding, the countdown restarted. 18 hours to finish the translation. 36 hours until eviction. For the first time in years, Lucia Vega was no longer invisible. She worked through the night, fueled by vending machine coffee and desperation. By 3 a.m., she'd translated nearly 85% of the document. Not as rosy as Willis's lies, not as brutal as her fears, somewhere in between. Retraining programs, stringent quality controls, real compromise. Her phone buzzed. A text from her neighbor. Doctors need $2,200 deposit to keep your mother another day. Lucia closed her eyes. 30 hours until eviction. 6 hours until deadline. Reeves's money could save everything. She let her head rest on her arms just for a moment. A crash. Hot liquid splashed across her notes. Lucia gasped, jerking upright as coffee seeped into her laptop. A clumsy me, Willis said smoothly, empty cup in hand. His smirk was poison. You looked so tired. Thought I'd bring you a fresh one. Her laptop screen flickered, then went black. My translation? Don't worry, Willis cut in. Faux sympathetic. Moved your files to my secure drive. Can't be too careful. Shrugged. Shame about the corruption. Technical glitch. These things happen. The backup was gone. It's 4 hours before the deadline, and Lucia was left with nothing but her memory, her coffee-stained notes, and her will to fight. As Willis sauntered out, he called over his shoulder, smirk curling. Reeves expects perfection. One mistranslated clause could cost us millions. I'm sure he'll understand if you withdraw. Best not to embarrass yourself, sweetheart. Lucia's phone buzzed again. This time, her landlord. Eviction processor coming tomorrow morning instead of Monday. Legal approved acceleration due to repeated late payments. Her throat tightened. The walls were closing in. Her laptop was dead, her notes ruined, her mother slipping away in a hospital bed. 3 hours of work lost. Willis had outmaneuvered her at every turn. For one aching moment, she considered surrender. Walk away. Find another cleaning job where Reeves and Willis couldn't reach her. Let the tide swallow her. Then the hospital called. Her mother's condition had worsened. They needed immediate payment authorization for additional treatment. Lucia's fingers curled around the jade pen until her knuckles whitened. Not today. Not without a fight. She bent over the smeared notes, reconstructing from memory, her hand cramping as she scrawled. 2 hours bled away. Dawn broke, painting the conference room in pale light. Exhaustion dragged her eyelids shut. She jolted awake at a voice. I expected this, Reeves announced. He stood over her like a judge at sentencing, Willis lounging smugly behind him. The wall clock glared at 47 a.m., 13 minutes to deadline. Reeves's gaze swept over the mess of papers, the stains, her hollow eyes. People should stay in their lanes. Housekeepers clean, executives execute. That's why I'm rich, and you're exactly where you belong. He turned to his assistant. Draft a termination notice. Ms. Vega violated company policy by accessing confidential documents. She failed to deliver. But our agreement was contingent on results, Reeves snapped. And you failed. Call Translation Pro, he barked at Willis. See if they can start from scratch. We'll beg Wong for an extension. Willis's triumphant grin said it all. Lucia sat frozen, her chest hollow, her father's words echoing faintly. Words build bridges between worlds. But what if those bridges were set on fire by men like Reeves and Willis? As Reeves turned to leave, her gaze fell on her bag on the corner of a notebook peeking out. Her father's research journal, she'd brought it as reference, then forgotten it in the chaos. Wait, she called, voice trembling but sharp with clarity. Reeves paused, irritation etched deep. We're done here. My father worked on this exact technology, she said, flipping open the worn leather. The GX5UO semiconductor series. He was part of the original development team before Huang Tech acquired the patent. Pages whispered, opened to hand-drawn diagrams, testing parameters. Specifications details not even included in the Hang proposal. Proprietary knowledge they assumed Reeves Enterprises already understood. These notes fill the gaps your translators can't. The thermal modeling system, the tolerance standards. Every ambiguity in that document, this answers them. I can finish the translation with precision. No one else can match. Reeves hesitated, his instinct to dismiss Ward with the millions at stake. Finally, you have 10 minutes. Lucia's exhaustion vanished. She worked furiously, the jade pen gliding with certainty as her father's notes bridged memory and meaning. At 8:58 a.m., she strode into the boardroom, where executives waited for the Huang video call. She laid the completed translation before Reeves. He scanned it, skeptical. The video call is starting, his assistant announced. Perhaps Miss Vega should Reeves began, actually. A voice interrupted from the massive display.
Yes.
Lin Hang, CEO of Huang Tech, leaned forward with his team. Beside him sat Mr. Zhang, her father's old colleague. We would prefer Ms. Vega stays. The room stilled. Ms. Vega, Zhang said warmly in Mandarin. An honor. Raphael often spoke of your gifts. Lucia's throat tightened. The honor's mine, she replied in flawless Mandarin. Reeves blinked, understanding none of it. What are they saying? Lucia switched smoothly to English. They included technical complexities in the proposal as a test to see if Reeves Enterprises still retained the expertise my father helped build. And did we pass? Reeves asked warily. That depends, she answered, turning back to Hang. The proposal's workforce section was its ambiguity intentional. A subtle smile curved Hang's mouth, very perceptive. Yes, we have concerns about your company's labor practices since Mr. Vega's departure. Lucia faced Reeves. They were testing your integrity. Mr. Willis failed that test. Willis surged forward. This is absurd. She's fabricating. Am I? Lucia cut in. She tapped her phone, projecting security footage she'd recovered during her night's desperate search. The board gasped. Willis, clearly visible, pouring coffee over her notes, deleting files. His sabotage undeniable. Reeves's face hardened. Mr. Willis, you're fired. Where security hauled him out, his protests echoing down the corridor. Hang's voice filled the silence. We will proceed with the contract on one condition. Ms. Vega must oversee implementation as our cultural liaison. Gasps rippled. Reeves paled, the power dynamic shifting like tectonic plates. Lucia translated calmly, the jade pen glinting in her hand. No longer a relic of Lawson, instrument of authority. They insist on working directly with me, she explained evenly. Reeves exhaled, defeated. Fine, Ms. Vega, will oversee cultural aspects of the deal. The call concluded with Lin Hang smiling broadly. Raphael Vega's legacy is alive. As executives dispersed, Reeves approached her quietly. It seems I underestimated you. Many people do. Our agreement stands. He scribbled a check for $27,400, his daily salary. Then another email pinged in. Hangtech, authorizing a $50,000 cultural consultancy bonus payable directly to Lucia Vega, $77,400. Enough to save her mother's care. Stop the eviction. By breathing room for the first time in years, Lucia finally exhaled. The jade pen rested in her hand, not a burden of memory, but a key to her future. 6 months later, Lucia Vega sat in her glass-walled office, Director of International Relations at Reeves Enterprises. The skyline glittered behind her. On her desk, the jade pen gleamed under the morning sun. She was no longer invisible. She was the bridge. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretched wide, the city glittering below, the same city where she had once been invisible. From behind a polished walnut desk, not the flimsy composite of janitorial stations, Lucia surveyed the view as if seeing it for the first time. Her desk held two things that mattered most: a framed photo of her mother, smiling again in a rehabilitation center close to their new 2-bedroom apartment, and the jade translator's pen resting in a crystal stand. When she picked it up, sandalwood still lingered faintly, a tether to her father's study. Nearby, orchids filled the air with a fresh brightness, past and present braided together in her hands. Her first act as director had not been profit-driven, it was personal. A scholarship in her father's name for the children of employees. Then a full overhaul of Reeves's ruthless layoff policies. Her second act, rehiring members of her community with benefits and multilingual training. Within 2 quarters, the Hong Tech contract she had brokered had boosted Reeves's Asian market share by 32%. Now board members who once looked through her called her Ms. Vega with the same deference once reserved for Victor Reeves. Even Reeves himself, the man who had dismissed her as a ghost, now quoted her in shareholder meetings. His praise was wrapped in corporate jargon. Ms. Vega's unique perspective has proven unexpectedly valuable, but she translated it in her head for what it really meant. I was wrong about her. Her assistant entered softly. Your mother's physical therapist called. The improvements are ahead of schedule. Lucia smiled, answering in Spanish without hesitation, Gracias letting her heritage echo in halls where she had once hidden it. A calendar ping reminded her. Board meeting in 15 minutes? 6 months ago, she had poured water in that room. Now, she would present a strategy projected to create 450 new jobs and raise valuation by 18%. On her desk, framed beside her father's photo, a newspaper clipping read, Reeves Enterprises stock soars on Asian partnership new director. Credits immigrant father's legacy. The article had painted her as a symbol of diversity. What it didn't mention were the 28 maintenance and support staff who had been promoted through her. Hidden Talents Initiative, the Nigerian security guard with an engineering degree, the cafeteria worker fluent in 5 languages, the IT technician who sketched product designs that now guided prototypes. Meanwhile, Derek Willis had become a corporate pariah after his sabotage attempt, a template spotted teaching business communication at a community college. The irony, almost too sharp to bear. Reeves remained profit-driven at his core, but actions had shifted. Reform in hiring, promotions based on merit. Walking toward the boardroom, employees greeted her in English, Spanish, Mandarin. Each nod, each smile, a small bridge between worlds. She carried the jade pen not as a secret talisman, but as a public symbol of survival, heritage, and expertise. The board members rose as she entered, a gesture that still startled her. She thought of her mother, now taking refresher engineering courses online. She thought of the cleaning staff, who now met her eyes instead of dropping their gaze. Visibility came with a price, the scrutiny, the pressure, the weight of representation. But invisibility had cost far more. Wasted brilliance, unheard voices, bridges left unbuilt. Good morning, she began in 3 languages. Nods of respect rippled around the room. Today, she continued, we're going to discuss how embracing multiple perspectives transforms not just culture, but our bottom line. The jade pen glided across her notes as numbers lit up the screen. 32% growth, 24% higher retention. Numbers spoke every language, especially in boardrooms. Talent doesn't always arrive in the packaging you expect, she said. But when you recognize it, when you refuse to let brilliance stay hidden, you gain more than profit. You build a future. And with that, Lucia Vega, a ghost in the halls, led her company into a future her father had only dreamed of. Has someone ever underestimated your potential? Did you have a moment when you finally proved them wrong, just like Lucia? Share your story in the comments. I want to hear how you turned invisibility into power. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to Fate Tales for more powerful narratives that reveal hidden strengths and unexpected triumphs. Hit that like button if you've ever been underestimated. Ring the bell so you'll never miss when we uncover another story that blends emotion, evidence, and transformation. Because your next chapter could be one bold decision away, just like Lucia's was. Fate Tales, where your potential becomes your power. Behind every headline is a human story, and here we tell them all.